Welcome to the Week 8 video lecture for Fish and Wildlife Policy, Programs, and Issues. This week, we will explore global conservation and emerging challenges in fish and wildlife management. The Earth's fish and wildlife species face numerous threats, including habitat loss, overexploitation, invasive species, and climate change, human-wildlife conflict, wildlife disease, and the bushmeat trade. Let's look at each of these critical challenges. Habitat loss remains the single biggest cause of species decline and extinction worldwide. As the human population passes the 6 billion mark, we have transformed, degraded, or destroyed roughly half of the world's forests. Tropical forests harbor at least half of the world's biodiversity, and we are likely to have lost up to 25% of these forests by the end of this century. As cities grow and human development expands further into natural areas, habitat fragmentation changes the landscape, as well as the composition of plant and animal species. Area-sensitive species and habitat specialist species tend to decline and may eventually disappear following habitat fragmentation. Another major cause of fish and wildlife population decline is overexploitation. A tragic example from American history is the extinction of the passenger pigeon. These birds once covered the sky by the millions. Incredibly, in just a few short decades of hunting, this species was driven to complete extinction. In the U.S., hunting regulations kept other species from going the way of the passenger pigeon, but overhunting continues to be a major threat to species worldwide. From a fisheries standpoint, overexploitation is the biggest looming threat to our oceans across the globe. A 2012 United Nations report found that 85% of the world's fisheries are fully to overexploited, depleted, or in a state of collapse. Worldwide, about 90% of the stocks of large predatory fish stocks are already gone. An invasive species is a non-native species that tends to multiply and spread virtually unchecked. Invasive species rank second only to habitat destruction as a threat to biodiversity. Almost half the species in the U.S. that are at risk of extinction are endangered because of introduced species alone or because of their impacts combined with other processes. Invasive species threaten biodiversity by causing disease, acting as predators, parasites, or competitors, altering habitat, or hybridizing with local species. Strategies used to control invasive species include biological control, chemical control, and mechanical control. Once an invasive species becomes established, it can be virtually impossible to eliminate it. Climate change is expected to threaten with extinction approximately 1/4 or more of all species on land by the year 2050. Species in the oceans and in fresh water are also at great risk from climate change, especially those that live in ecosystems like coral reefs that are highly sensitive to warming temperatures. Climate change is a threat because species have evolved to live within certain temperature ranges and climate conditions. When these conditions change, species cannot easily adapt. For some species, their food supply may disappear, thus causing their own extinction. Scientists predict that by 2100, assuming that current trends in burning fossil fuels continue, the surface of the Earth will warm by, on average, by about 11 degrees Fahrenheit or more. It is not possible to predict how most species and ecosystems will respond to such extreme warming and associated changes in precipitation and seasonality, but the effects are likely to be catastrophic. As human populations expand into natural areas, conflicts with wildlife are inevitable. Large mammals and predatory animals have long been a menace to farmers and ranchers across the globe. As we attempt to reintroduce wolves and other predators in a human-inhabited landscape, conflicts will continue to be the norm. The Fish and Wildlife Service's international programs support innovative technologies to resolve conflict between wildlife and humans and promote practices that save endangered wildlife while simultaneously taking into consideration the needs of local communities. Zoonotic diseases are ones that can be transferred between species, from wild animals to humans, and from humans to animals. Uncontrolled disease epidemics have the potential to wipe out entire populations of wildlife in short periods of time, and they cause not only significant health problems but also economic problems for humans. Ebola, rabies, tuberculosis, brucellosis, influenza, foot and mouth disease, chronic wasting disease, and white nose syndrome are just a few diseases that are having a devastating impact on wildlife populations. The bushmeat trade refers to the illegal and unsustainable overhunting of wildlife for meat and income. It represents the most immediate threat to the future of wildlife populations in Africa, as well as other areas of Asia and Latin America. It is so severe in some areas that it has led to what is commonly referred to as the empty forest syndrome, a condition where forests remain structurally intact but are largely devoid of wildlife. Some animals affected by this illegal activity include gorillas, chimpanzees and other primates, elephants, antelopes, crocodiles, fruit bats, porcupines and other rodents, and several species of pangolin. The growing problem posed by illegal, unsustainable hunting for bushmeat is exacerbated by the construction of new roads to facilitate logging and mining operations, allowing poachers easy access to remote forests. In villages or logging camps where meat from domesticated animals is scarce and expensive, wild animals are hunted as a cheap and locally available source of protein. In many African cities, eating bushmeat has become a status symbol for the wealthy, and the demand for wild meat has increased steadily. Although the practice earns hunters and traders quick cash in the short term, it is ultimately unsustainable and denies opportunities for the wider community and future generations to benefit from wildlife. Several international conservation organizations are working to meet our biggest conservation challenges across the globe. Some of the leading global conservation organizations include IUCN, WWF, TNC, and CI. The IUCN helps the world find pragmatic solutions to our most pressing environment and development challenges. It supports scientific research, manages field projects all over the world, and brings governments, non-government organizations, United Nations agencies, companies, and local communities together to develop and implement policy, laws, and best practice. The World Wildlife Fund is committed to reversing the degradation of our planet's natural environment and to building a future in which human needs are met in harmony with nature. WWF works at every level from local to global and ensures the delivery of innovative solutions that meet the needs of both people and nature. The Nature Conservancy works in all 50 states and more than 30 countries to preserve the plants, animals, and natural communities that represent Earth's diversity of life by protecting the lands and waters they need to survive. TNC has protected more than 119 million acres of land and 5,000 miles of rivers worldwide, and they operate more than 100 marine conservation projects globally. Conservation International uses a strong foundation of science, partnership, and field demonstration to empower societies to responsibly and sustainably care for nature, our global biodiversity, and the well-being of humanity. The organization focuses on marine and land-based efforts on working to secure a stable global climate, understanding and protecting the sources and flows of fresh water, ensuring nations' ability to provide food for human needs, minimizing environmental pressures on human health, valuing the role of nature in human cultures, and safeguarding the unknown and as yet undiscovered option values that nature provides. During the past several weeks, we've explored the complex social, economic, and political context of fish and wildlife issues. As we near the end of the course, it's important to appreciate the global nature of these issues. As stated by the Fish and Wildlife Service's Wildlife Without Borders program, wildlife, fish, and plants do not recognize national boundaries. Conservation of wildlife is a global responsibility, with the survival of species largely dependent on habitats extending beyond national boundaries. With human populations growing and corresponding increases in development, pollution, and consumption of natural resources, the need for international collaboration has never been greater. Some of the world's most treasured animals, elephants, apes, tigers, marine turtles, and amphibians, are rapidly diminishing in the wild, and many are threatened with extinction. The Wildlife Without Borders program works with partners in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and other areas of the world to help conserve and manage these species.